I want to be completely honest with you because I feel like I talk, of course, so much about discipline and being consistent and becoming your best self and all these things on this podcast. And I have not been disciplined or consistent or any of it the last weeks. I really feel like I have been so out of my routine and so not pursuing any of my goals. It's really not been good. I do know that a big reason was definitely that we moved and that I felt like I was just, out of my environment where I had super good routines and everything in place. But I cannot only use that as an excuse because I do definitely have to say that it was kind of like a slow trickling process of just skipping one workout and then the next one and then binge watching an entire show, scrolling on social media endlessly before going to bed, lying in bed at night and just, scrolling, but always telling myself that it's fine, it's okay, I just need a break. I need maybe some self-care and just take it a bit more slow and it's totally fine. And I think it's crazy how good the brain is in justifying to ourselves that it's okay to not follow through with things or to take the easy way out. Because obviously our brain loves to take the easy way out, right? It hates any kind of friction or discomfort. So it has all these reasons ready to tell us that, yeah, sure, just skip today. You can start tomorrow. So fine to do tomorrow. And I feel like that's the worst thing we can do to ourselves is this mindset of I'll start tomorrow because then tomorrow comes and it's so easy to be like, okay, today is not a great day to start. I'll do tomorrow and to just keep going like that, right? And oh my God, now the thing is also that when you look at the calendar, we are halfway through 2026. Isn't that just so insane? And time is passing so fast. And that realization hit me so hard. I woke up in the morning and I just got so frustrated with myself because I was really like, I have not been sticking to any of my habits, to any of my goals. I really felt like as if I had let myself go a little bit, And I think that's just one of the worst feelings. To feel like you are not doing the best you can when you know you can do better. Because of course, we're all in phases of life where maybe things really are too much and you really do need to take a step back. But then I also want to say that we justify it to ourselves then as self-care, right? Especially, I think, binge watching shows or spending time on the phone and so on. That's a way for ourselves to relax and to just switch our brain off and so on. But the truth really is that this is not self-care. It's not. Because, and I think you know this as well, right? We don't feel better after scrolling an hour on our phones. And our brain is not relaxing. It's being overstimulated and it oftentimes makes things even worse. It makes our overwhelm worse. It makes how we feel about ourselves worse, our mental health. And what we tell ourselves is self-care most often is self-sabotage. It's simply sabotaging our own progress and also what we would actually be capable of, especially if you know you can do better. Because again, we all experience things, also shitty things sometimes happen. And then I think it can actually be super toxic to kind of tell yourself like you need to do more and you need to do better when you literally can't. But if you are in a place right now like me where actually you can do better, then this episode is for you. It's gonna be a pep talk you didn't know you needed because I so much needed this. So I want to share with you exactly what I was doing to kind of really get me out of this slump and this slow drift that I was on where I was just not doing the best I can, but also not feeling well. Because again, I do think that when we do give in to the easy way out and the short-term gratification, it does not make you feel good. And that actually brings me to my very first point because I have been reading a book called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter, and it really opened my eyes to how important discomfort is. Because his whole argument is that modern life has basically engineered all the discomfort out of our days. Everything is convenient now. temperature controlled rooms, AC, hot water, escalators, one tap, and the food is at your door. And he says that that's a huge part of the reason why we feel depressed, soft, not good about ourselves, anxious, because what he argues is that our bodies and our nervous systems were literally built for hardship. They were designed to deal with hard things. And when we remove all of it, we don't feel peaceful, we feel flat. We feel kind of off in a way we can't even name. This resonated with me so much because I could really see how little discomfort there is in my day. When you get too comfortable and there's too little friction, and you then also start to always take the easy way out because it's there, it does not make you feel good. And when you think about it, it makes so much sense because you feel the best after a super hard workout, right? Where you really feel like, wow, I gave it my all. I maybe didn't even really feel like it, but I did it anyways. And you felt challenged and you overcame that challenge. Or also, food tastes the absolute best when you are also really, really hungry, right? And there's a million of these examples where things feel more amazing when you've actually been challenged for them and when you had to do something hard, because it reminds you of what discomfort feels like, right? Because we are just not confronted with it so often. And I think also, oh my God, especially through our phones, right? Because it is so easy to get a dopamine hit now. So easy to open your phone and then have notifications that give you some dopamine, get constantly new content for the brain. It's just amazing, right? And I actually want to come back to that point later, but I have set the intention for myself for the second half of 2026 to seek discomfort every single day, to find ways every day where I can create discomfort for myself and make things a little bit harder. So asking myself with things, okay, is this the easy way, or can I maybe challenge myself in a way that also benefits me? And the first thing that comes to mind, for me at least, is definitely movement and exercise, because I really feel like that is something where it is such a crazy win-win, because it has both this mental benefit, but of course then also the health and the physical benefit. And in terms of the mental benefit, that is something that Andrew Huberman also talks about so much, that we have this area in our brain, I think it's called the anterior midcingulate cortex, which is this area that it's almost like our willpower muscle that can be strengthened. Because how we strengthen it is by doing hard things. There used to be this perception about willpower that it's this limited resource and that it kind of deplenishes the more you use it. And this could not be further from the truth, because how he explains it, that whenever you do something you don't want to do, but you do it anyways, and it feels really hard and it does require willpower from your side, that it strengthens that area. And the stronger kind of that area is, the easier it then will be to do hard things. Learning about that really fascinated me so much and gives you even more reason to seek out discomfort and to do the hard things. But then, of course, also with movement, the thing is, it has so crazy many positive effects on your mood, on your body, on also then all your other habits. I strongly believe that if you do a workout, it makes you also so much more likely to then nourish yourself well. It improves your sleep and on and on and on, right? So that is my second thing after number one, seeking more discomfort. Number two, movement every single day and make it challenging and do it when you don't feel like it. Even there, I also want to just have one caveat or one thing I want to point out, that especially I think with our female cycle, it is so important to be also intuitive and to listen to our bodies, to really notice when can I push myself and when can I actually take on a challenge and maybe do more, and when should I maybe really take a step back and prioritize calmness and just taking it a bit slower that day. And there I, for myself, just always look at where am I in my cycle. I love the Whoop. I'm wearing it also right now. By the way, I got a new color of the band. I love it so much, in case you're watching with video. I'm also going to put a link for you in the description for a 30-day free trial. I love it so much because it shows you exactly kind of where your readiness or your energy is at. It determines that according to your heart rate variability and I think your resting heart rate. And especially then seeing compared to the cycle, I can see it so clearly that my readiness is always so much higher in my first half of the cycle and then tends to be lower in the second half. And then I use that. Of course, additionally, you should always also check in with yourself. How am I actually feeling instead of just blindly trusting any data in an app? But I definitely use it kind of as an anchor to see, okay, it says my readiness is at 98% today. I should really challenge myself. And it also actually really motivates me, which, yeah, I love the Whoop for that. That gives me that extra motivation. But then also when I can see, okay, my readiness score is like in the yellow or sometimes even the red, today I should definitely take it slow. But then I still try to maybe go for a little walk or something, just, yeah, to get some sort of movement and really make that a non-negotiable for myself, which brings me to point number 3. And that is something I completely lost, because I definitely have to say I had that, just fixed non-negotiables, and also in the same way, like fixed standards for myself, which I think is so powerful to have standards and like a approach for yourself, or like a certain perception almost of yourself, of the person you want to be, which is super related also to identity-based goals, which is something that the author of Atomic Habits, now I just forgot his name, but he talks about it a lot, of how powerful it is to be very specific about the kind of person you want to be and telling yourself, I am the person who. For example, then I am a person who prioritizes movement, wants to challenge themselves, and does some sort of movement every single day. And that then will automatically kind of be your non-negotiable, right? And I think it's so powerful in so many ways. First of all, it eliminates any kind of negotiation in your head, because that is what you said you're going to do. Maybe defining 4 or 5 non-negotiables for yourself, where you say, I do this every single day, no matter what. Definitely being realistic about it, right? So it doesn't help to set crazy non-negotiables where you already know, okay, I probably won't be able to do this. It should be things that you know you can do, even if you had a shitty day, you're maybe low on energy, should still be doable, because then on these days, there is no way you can talk yourself out of it, because it is doable. You know you can do it. And having that, then, it eliminates any discussion. It eliminates that voice in your head that tries to argue yourself out of it. And it comes with all these reasons and arguments for why it's totally okay to take it slow today. You don't have to do it today. Start tomorrow, start tomorrow. Our brain is so crazy good at that. And by setting these things for yourself, and really important to write them down. So I want you to sit down and write down, let's say 5. Okay, let's agree on 5 non-negotiables for yourself, where I can do this every day. And thinking about 5 things where they also kind of really do something. So they either make you feel really, really good, they help you progress towards your goal, and even if it's just small things, I think it's so powerful. And that should kind of like, be the baseline. So getting these things done is kind of the minimum. And then anything on top is amazing. So we definitely want to strive to do more, but those 5 things are kind of the baseline for even the shittiest days that we still want to get that done. I think it's so powerful to have something in it that has to do with movement, maybe also something that has to do with your environment. So cleaning your space, maybe making your bed, or cleaning the kitchen every single night, or sorting through your clothes, or whatever it is. Then I personally also have beauty related things in there, because I just know they make me feel so good. So one of my non-negotiables is to have the LED face mask on every single morning. I'm gonna link my favorite one for you as well in the description. Doing my skincare, so never ever skipping my skincare. I am also always super focused on my hair. So hair health has a really, really high priority for myself. So that is something that also every night I do a scalp massage. I put in this Kerastase night serum. I will link it for you as well. It's so good. I really love this one so much. Oh yeah, and I also have a current goal that I set for myself, which is something I have been wanting to work on since so long and never been consistent with it. And the thing is, because I've never been fully clear on the steps I need to take to get there, and it is achieving the middle splits. And the thing is, I've just always been too vague about it. I was like, I'm just gonna work on it consistently, and then at some point I'll get there. But now I've been like, no, I have this specific middle split routine that I am doing every second day in the evening. Every second day before I go to bed, I go on my mat and I do this exact routine without fail. And this is the only way I know that this is the only way I'm gonna get there. It's gonna probably take some time, but I'm gonna get there because I have a clear plan with a clear goal and a very, very clear non-negotiables. And I, by the way, think that having these movement or exercise related goals like a middle splits or whatever it is that you maybe can come up with that you would like to achieve, maybe it is running a marathon or being able to lift a specific weight at the gym. Having a goal like that makes exercise and movement so much easier, in my opinion, because you have something to work towards and you have something to measure yourself by, which is something else I believe is so amazing and so powerful, is this feeling of making progress. So having something to work towards where you can actually really see, am I getting better at this, is so powerful. I highly urge you to find something like that because it shows you what you are capable of and what is possible for you. And also, if you are doing something repeatedly and you keep going and you keep challenging yourself, there is no way that you are not gonna progress. It's inevitable. Like from a law of physics, it's just not possible to not get better. If you, for example, keep running and you keep pushing yourself to run maybe a little bit longer and a little bit more, you will become a better runner. And that is just so nice. It's so, so nice to have these things where you can actually really feel like, wow, I am able to do something that I wasn't able to do in the past. And especially now, coming back to this mid-year point and mid-year reset, thinking about specific goals that could be so amazing to achieve by the end of this year. So in 6 months from now, and I actually think 6 months is quite a little bit of time, right? There is this saying, and I said it before on the podcast, we overestimate what we're able to achieve in a month and we underestimate what we're able to achieve in a year. But actually now, half year, I think, is like at the point where we sometimes still underestimate how much can change in 6 months if we're consistent and if we're putting in the work. And that's also a thought pattern or a mindset thing that I'm trying to remind myself of, is that time is passing anyways, right? And by telling ourselves, I'll start next week, I'll start tomorrow, we lose that time and we are not gonna get closer to where we want to be, and that time is gone. And the best time to start is always today. It's always now. So if there's also something that you've just been postponing and you keep postponing it, no more. You start now. Because you know what the thing also is, especially when I just told you, write down your non-negotiables and maybe find that goal. It's so easy to do that, right? It's so nice to sit with your matcha and your notebook and write these things down, and you get so motivated by it and so inspired and you're like, yes, I'm gonna do this. And then it starts and the day comes where you're like, oh, shit, I said I'm gonna do this middle splits routine today, but I feel so tired. I actually also want to watch Love Island or whatever it is and just want to chill in bed, maybe scroll. I really don't feel like it today. And all these reasons come up why it's totally okay to skip today, right? And that is the point where it gets hard, right? And where execution is the key, because the planning is always easy. The hard part is always the execution. But by having these specific non-negotiables and these specific goals that you can measure yourself by, and this mindset of where will I be in 6 months from now if I keep going now because today counts, that is what's gonna keep you going and what has helped me personally so much. Because the thing really is that it comes down to the small little things, the moments where we think it doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Exactly in those moments, it does matter the most because of this anterior mid-cingulate cortex, that muscle in the brain that gets stronger and stronger the more we do the things we don't want to do. Because the opposite is, of course, also true, that every single time you opt out and you take the easy way and you tell yourself, it's so fine today, I don't need to do it today, that muscle that wants to take the easy way out also gets stronger. And I think that thought is actually really scary, right? That you make it much more likely for yourself to not follow through every time that you don't follow through. It's really these pathways in the brain that then get strengthened. You really have to think of that, how much you strengthen these pathways by repeating this action of giving up, not following through. And we don't want that, right? We don't want these pathways in our brain. We want them to be blocked. And that's why we need to stop doing the thing, or actually start doing the thing. So do mode, full on execution and do mode. I'm just checking my notes. And there was one more super important thing related to that. That also every single time that we follow through with a promise we made to ourselves and we stick to that non-negotiable, we strengthen our self-confidence and the belief in ourselves so much more than anything else or anyone else ever could. Because we are every single time that we are putting in the work and following through, we are proving to ourselves that we are capable and we are worth investing in and we are worth in giving our all and putting in the work into ourselves. And that just really makes you feel so good about yourself, and in turn strengthens the belief you have about yourself, what you think is possible for yourself, really how you see yourself so much, which then changes how everyone else sees you as well. That's so crazy. The way we treat ourselves and we look at ourselves is also how we'll be perceived by everyone else, because we then automatically put that out there and we have that energy, and the whole way how we carry ourselves changes, and that influences how other people see us and treat us so much more than we realize. Now, I quickly want to come back to the whole topic around our phones and social media and scrolling, which is the most annoying topic ever, I know, because we all know that it's not good to do, right? And that it's so much more beneficial to choose the book and read the book at night instead of the scrolling. I really have to say, though, that we cannot repeat it enough to ourselves, because it is an addiction, and these platforms are made to suck us in every single time. And I know there is this trend of completely deleting your social media and going offline, and I think it's an amazing trend, and I really wish I wasn't doing content for a living, because I would so delete all of it. I think apart from YouTube, I would delete all of it, even though the thing is, and that's what I have now come to as an agreement with myself, that as with everything, it's not black and white. And there is also super inspiring content out there and stuff that you can learn, and that also where you really gain value from it, right? I think the best example for me is always recipes. That it's just, I think, the best place to get new food inspiration and recipes, ideas, and so on. But the tricky part with it just is that we are being flooded with so many things, and so much of it, unfortunately, is not valuable, right? And it leads to comparison or unrealistic expectations, or just making you feel bad about yourself, or just also literally just wasting time. Something that happens to me constantly is that I then see funny dog videos, and then I just see one after the other, after the other, after the other. And even though I'm maybe laughing and I think it's funny and so on, I've literally just maybe wasted half an hour or an hour that I could have spent on something that would really maybe get me further. My middle splits routine, for example, right? So it's really about what do we choose to do with our time. And therefore, one of my biggest realizations have been just how intentional I want to be and have to be when I use social media. Oh, but I actually did forget a very, very important non-negotiable in that regard. And that is for me to protect my mornings and my evenings. No screen time in the first hour after waking up and in the last hour of the day. It really is the most important time for our brain. And by allowing ourselves to scroll, especially in those time periods, I really think we're doing ourselves the biggest disservice. So yeah, definitely on my non-negotiable list. And the last thing I want to talk about was something I have realized when we've just recently been to a wedding. And it was a super international wedding. So people were there from all over the world, which was so interesting and fascinating to talk to so many different people, hear about their lives. And I was coming home from that wedding feeling so inspired. I was actually surprised myself how many new ideas I had, how motivated I felt, and just overall how uplifted and inspired, because it somehow gave me so many new perspectives on things, and just it was so much different input that I felt like I usually get, because I think we all are very much in our lives that we usually consume the same content, we have the same friends, we talk about the same things, we read similar books, we go to similar places, and just maybe aren't exposed to so much different or so much new stuff. At least I have to can only speak for myself here, right? So for me, that is definitely true. That I know for myself, I am also very much kind of a habit person. And for example, also my husband and I, if we really love a restaurant, we always go to that restaurant, and we're not so keen on then trying out something new, because it's like this mindset, if it works, if it's good, we stick with that. And that's not necessarily that good, because first of all, our brain thrives on novelty, right? That's also something super nice for the brain just in general, to experience new things. But also it is crazy to see what it does to the way you view things and how inspired and motivated you feel. Because I think sometimes we also can feel somehow so stuck in the way we're living, and we don't really think broader or see more, because we don't see it in our daily lives. You know what I mean? That it's sometimes hard to envision more when you don't really see it. And therefore, another list I invite you to do, and that was really helpful for me, so I hope it's just as helpful for you, is to make a list with things that you know inspire you. Trying out new places, maybe going to a new class, exposing yourself to meeting new people. But it doesn't only have to be that. It can also be specific things, which can also be content that you consume that you know inspires you so much. And one of the best places for that, in my opinion, really also is YouTube. I am the biggest YouTube fan. I love YouTube so much, because I think it can also really open your eyes to so different ways of living your life, different ways of doing things, and how other people approach things. You can learn so much. And that's so high on my list, is watching specific a type of content on YouTube. I have specific creators that I really love, where I just know that every time I watch a video from them, I get so inspired and motivated. And it's just such a great feeling, especially on these days where you don't feel like that at all, right? Where you maybe wake up in the morning and you're just like, oh, I feel somehow not great today, or somehow feels like it's going to be a shitty day or whatever. On these days, especially, where we have to pull ourselves out of that, is where we then should really reach for these things that we know inspire us. And that's exactly why I want you to have this list. That's why I made this list for myself, because I know I can fall into these just really also mental spirals where I somehow don't get out by myself, and where it's then so helpful to, for example, have specific content, or it can be a chapter in a book. Or also something I do is when I listen to a podcast and they say something I find super inspiring or motivating, that I screen record it, and I have a folder on my phone where I put all these clips, and then I love to re-listen to them, to have these specific moments that resonated with me. Then you don't, have to find the whole podcast episode, or you also don't forget about it, because it's so easy to forget about these things. And having these things that you know put you into a good mindset and uplift you, have them ready on that list, have them ready in a folder. Could also be a Pinterest board with motivating quotes. I also really, really love that. And then reaching for that when you need it, to keep yourself in a good mindset and an inspired mindset, and to keep yourself strong, because we all have these days, and it is just also fluctuating, and we never feel inspired and motivated all the time. Especially motivation, right, is so fleeting, and often only also comes after you, for example, started the workout or started doing the hard task and so on, that then motivation starts to kick in. Regardless of that, I think it's super helpful to have these resources that help you get there, and kind of like this extra push. So now actually let me quickly summarize what we talked about. First of all, seeking more discomfort, always finding small or big ways how we can challenge ourselves, how we can make ourselves just not feel as wrapped up in bubble paper, but where we are really sometimes maybe even brought to our limits, because that is not only where we grow, but that is also how we then experience more pleasure. Number two, having fixed non-negotiables and standards for yourself, writing them down, being so specific about them. In connection to that, maybe you can find specific goals that you want to work towards, where you can really see progress that you can measure yourself against. And I really would highly recommend not to have too many of those, because once you have too many goals, you might as well have none. So I would really say maximum three of those goals. Then we said limiting scrolling and being so much more intentional about it, seeking out the good stuff that really helps us. And lastly, having a list ready with all the ways that you know inspire you, and also trying as much as possible to expose yourself to new things. I really hope this episode was your kickstart to make the absolute best of the second half of 2026. I'm so excited to have you here. I can't wait to see you next week for the next episode, which is coming. It will be there. I have to tell you, really, I am as committed as I have definitely never been before to bringing you weekly episodes and to stay consistent on here and be there. So I'll see you next week. And by the way, if you enjoyed this episode, definitely make sure to send it to someone who you think could maybe want to hear this as well, who could also need a little pep talk. That would mean the world to me. And I'll see you next week. Bye.